Good morning. It's Monday, November 4th, and we're starting the week off with the arrival of the Northrop Grumman Cygnus spacecraft to the International Space Station. This live view from the orbiting laboratory itself shows Cygnus positioned just outside the Earth-facing side of the station's Unity module. Teams here are about an hour ahead of schedule for berthing Cygnus to the space station, following an on-time capture this morning at 4:10 a.m. Eastern Time, as the space station was flying 259 statute miles over Madagascar. We're live from the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Texas, where the Canadarm2 is currently being commanded by Robotics flight controllers here on the ground. You can see all of the flight controllers here in the room. They're monitoring all of the systems aboard the International Space Station. Lead flight director for this mission is Rick LeBrode, and he's accompanied this morning by Allison Bollinger. Cygnus arrives today with over 4 tons of crew supplies, hardware, and other equipment for the International Space Station. This is the largest payload Cygnus has carried to date. For a breakdown of some of the equipment aboard the Cygnus resupply craft, you can see there are over 1,761 pounds of crew supplies. Utilization there, that's science experiments and associated hardware weighing over 4,242 supplies. This Cygnus cargo craft also brings the remainder of the tools that will be used during the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer spacewalks scheduled for later this month, and that's 203 pounds of spacewalk equipment, another 1,561 pounds of vehicle and system hardware, and another 31 pounds of computer resources. The International Space Station is currently flying 267 statute miles over the Indian Ocean, and you can see Cygnus there at the end of the Canadarm2 with its Ultraflex solar arrays extended. NASA astronaut Jessica Meir, backed up by NASA astronaut Christina Koch, captured Cygnus this morning on time at 3:10 a.m. Central, 4:10 a.m. Eastern. After the astronauts captured the cargo resupply craft, controls of the Canadarm2 were turned over to the robotics flight controllers here on the ground, who have since used the Canadarm2 to reposition the spacecraft, bring it up to the station's Unity module, where you see it positioned now. As commands come from the ground to the robotic arm, you'll see Cygnus move in very small increments while the teams perform alignment checks along the way. Some of those checks have already been conducted this morning, including using cameras to ensure that the vehicle, the Cygnus spacecraft itself, is clear of any foreign object debris. Once Cygnus makes contact with the Unity module, it will be attached with 4 latches, and it will appear firmly attached at that point, but berthing itself will be confirmed after an additional 16 bolts have created an even firmer hold on the vehicle. We're in a short satellite handover period, and we will regain communication with the International Space Station shortly. All of the Cygnus vehicles are named after people who have made significant contributions to spaceflight, and this one is named after Apollo and Skylab astronaut who died on May 26, 2018. That's Alan Bean. Cygnus launched on November 2nd, 2019, 50 years to the month after Alan Bean, Pete Conrad, and Dick Gordon flew to the moon on the Apollo 12 mission. On that mission, Bean became the fourth human to walk on the lunar surface, and he was the lunar module pilot aboard Intrepid with Mission Commander Conrad when they landed at the Ocean of Storms on the moon on November 19, 1969. 4 years later, he also commanded the second crewed Skylab mission, Skylab 3, which launched on July 28, 1973. He, along with Owen Garriott and Jack Lousma, spent 59 days in space aboard America's first space station. Now his name flies again aboard Cygnus, arriving at America and the International Space Station. Oh. You can see Cygnus moving slowly in toward Unity. In this video from the centerline berthing camera system showing good alignment with the vehicle. Cygnus is now in the ready to latch position. As the International Space Station flies 264 miles over Australia, you can see lightning in the background, and first stage capture of the vehicle as complete. Robotic flight controllers have configured the arm into its limp mode, meaning it won't be imparting any forces on the vehicle as the next stages of capture are completed. Once Cygnus is berthed to the Unity module today, it will remain attached until January 2020. Once it departs the International Space Station, Cygnus will still stay in space for a couple of weeks to complete some additional objectives before burning up in the Earth's atmosphere upon re-entry. The 16 A-bolts that will firmly attach the vehicle to the space station are now driving. There are 2 hatches the crew will need to open to access the contents of Cygnus later this afternoon. Once the vehicle's been attached, there's a hatch on the station side and a hatch on Cygnus itself. The crew will begin outfitting the space between Cygnus and the station later today and prepare for opening the hatch. There are currently 6 people living aboard the International Space Station, and astronauts need to work out about 2 hours every day to keep from losing any bone or muscle mass. However, while the Canadarm2 is attached to the Cygnus vehicle and teams are performing alignment checks and preparing for berthing, there's no exercise allowed on the station to avoid any vibrations in the Canadarm2 and keep the vehicle aligned. And we have confirmation that the A-bolts have completed driving, and the Cygnus is berthed to the Unity module on the International Space Station. The space station was flying over the South Pacific at 5:21 a.m. Central Time when Cygnus made its final arrival.
Station Houston on space to ground 2 for Cygnus status.
Payload 2.
A bolts are complete. Cygnus is structurally attached to the ISS.
Great news. Thank you.
Now that Cygnus is attached to the International Space Station, the crew will begin accessing its cargo later this afternoon. Cygnus' journey began 2 days ago on November 2nd at 8:59 a.m. Central Time when it launched from Wallops Island, Virginia. And it was captured this morning by NASA's Jessica Meir and Christina Koch while flying 259 statute miles over Madagascar at 3:10 a.m. Central Time. Berthing was completed of Cygnus to the station's Unity module while flying over the South Pacific this morning at 5:21 a.m. Central Time. Cygnus will remain attached until January 2020. That wraps up our coverage of Cygnus' arrival to the International Space Station today. However, we will be broadcasting live from Launch Complex 32 at White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico, as Boeing prepares to put the launch abort system of its CST-100 Starliner to the test. Coverage is scheduled to begin at 7:50 a.m. Central Time at 6:50 a.m. Mountain Time, and this 90-second test is designed to demonstrate Starliner's ability to quickly escape the launch pad in the event of a launch day emergency. This will be Boeing's first flight test as part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program and will help evaluate the performance of the abort system prior to missions to the International Space Station with a crew on board. NASA and the commercial partners Boeing and SpaceX are working toward returning the capability to launch American astronauts to the space station in low Earth orbit on American-built spacecraft from American soil. But for now, we thank you for joining us for this morning's capture and berthing coverage of Northrop Grumman's Cygnus to the International Space Station. Signing off for now, this is Mission Control Houston.